All right, well, let's take a look at adding and subtracting rational numbers. Okay, so first of all, let's just start with two rational numbers before we move on to polynomials. If I add 1/2 and then to 1/5, okay, what I need to make sure that is the same as the denominator. Okay, so one of the easiest ways to do this is if I multiply this by 5 and I multiply this by 5, what's going to happen here is I'm going to get 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10. And on the right-hand side, if I multiply by 2 on the top and the bottom, technically I'm just multiplying by 2 over 2, which is 1. All right, what I'm going to be doing is adding 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 5 is 10, and there you go. Okay, now I have both denominators the same. I've got a 10 here and I got a 10 here, which means I can just add up the numerators. So I've got 7/10, right? So 1/2 plus 1/5 is actually 7/10. Okay, so the same thing sort of applies to when we have variables in here. Okay, so if I'm looking at this right here, understand that I'm going to need an x over in the left. So that becomes x times x is x squared divided by 3x. And if you notice on the right-hand side, I want my denominator to be 3x. So I need to make sure that I'm multiplying by a 3 in the numerator as well. So if I'm going to add these two together, I've got 18 over, 3x. Okay, and now once my denominators are the same, you can see all you need to do are add up the numerators. Now you have to just be careful of your like terms here. I got x squared plus 18 divided by 3x. Okay, the denominators combined under one part of the fraction. Okay, all right, moving on. Now, what happens when we look at something like this? Keep the same idea in mind. I know that this is really x plus 2x minus 2. This is dots. So if I simplify that, now I'm going to look over on the left-hand side and notice that I already have 2 less than x in the denominator. Right? So what do I need? Okay, I need an x plus 2 to make both denominators be the same. So make sure you also incorporate that in the numerator, right? Because technically we're just multiplying by 1. Okay, so I distribute through here very carefully. So I've got 3x plus 6 in the numerator. And in the denominator, I have x plus 2, x minus 2, right? Now I'm going to add this together. And what do I have over here? I have x plus 2, x minus 2, right? So I have the same denominator in both of our terms here. Now, if that is true, all I can do is I can take all the values in the numerator and go ahead and add them up. So if I go ahead and do that, right, I'm going to get 3x plus 6 plus 7. Right, I'm going to list that right all out. And in the denominator now, we know that we're just going to combine and we're going to get x plus 2, x minus 2. And last but not least, if you really want to be fancy, make sure you put everything in standard form. So I'm going to have 3x plus 13 on the numerator. And then I know this is really dots. You could leave it as x plus 2, x minus 2, but let's just put it back into standard form. And there we go. That's going to be a simplified version. All right. Moving on to one right over here. Another one, very, very similar idea. Okay, just need to think about, well, I've got x minus 7 over here. So I'm going to need an x minus 7 over here. Okay, x minus 7 over here. And then on the left-hand side, okay, I have an x minus 7. I need an x minus 6. I need an x minus 6. Okay, so what happens on the left? Let's just distribute this very carefully. So I'm going to get 7x squared, all right, minus 42x divided by x minus 6 and then x minus 7. And now I'm subtracting, so you got to be careful for that, all right? And what's going to happen here? Well, I've got an x minus 6, I've got an x minus 7. Now here, we have to make sure that we understand that we're double distributing or using area model. I'll double distribute right now. So we've got 7x squared minus 49x, and then I've got plus 3x, and then minus 21. This is all on the top of a fraction, so let's just keep that all together. And then we work our way and start to simplify. Okay, so on the left-hand side here, we've got 7x squared minus 42x, right? All divided by x minus 6 and x minus 7. And on the numerator now, I can combine like terms. So I've got minus 7x squared. This is going to be minus 46x minus 21. It's all locked together over this. Okay. And now you can see here what we have is the denominators are the same. Right? We've got x minus 7, x minus 6, x minus 7, x minus 6. Now we're ready to combine like terms, right? So it's important to realize that we're subtracting everything here, right? So I can distribute this value in, right? If I want to distribute that value in. So what's going to happen here is now we're going to get minus 7x squared. Here, let me switch out here. We've got minus 7x squared. We've got plus 46x, and then we've got plus 21, right? Because, and the reason that that's happening is this negative right here is going to distribute all the way through, all right? So to come into a simplified answer here, we can go ahead and take a look at this. All right, we've got 7x squared minus 7x squared. That's just going to cancel out. And I've got negative 42 and then positive 46x. So that's going to leave me with a positive 4x. And then the last thing I'm left with is you can see here, we've just got 21 all by itself here. Right? So I'm left with a plus 21. Okay. Now on the bottom, we can leave it like this if you want, x minus 6, x minus 7. Okay. If you really want to put it out into standard form, this is a totally acceptable answer. But if you really want to put it out into standard form, okay, just multiply that out. So we would get x squared minus 13x plus 42. And that would be completely in standard form. Okay. All right. Last but not least, sometimes there's something a little tricky here. All right. If we're looking at both of these, we know that we've got 6 minus x here, and I've got x minus 6 here. Okay. So what we need to realize here is that if I take 7 plus 3 and I get 10, right? And then I get 3 plus 7, I get 10. That works, okay? With addition, you can flip it around, no problem. It's commutative, okay? But with subtraction, if I do 7 minus 3, I'll get 4. But if I do 3 minus 7, I'm going to get negative 4, right? So that's something that I want you all to kind of think about when we're flipping around this 6 minus x. Okay, so if I flip around this 6 minus x, what it's going to change to if I want x minus 6, all right, what happens is that we've got the negative changes to a positive x, and then the positive 6 changed to a negative 6. So we have to make sure that we move this value up here and make the x negative. So what this really looks like is the following: negative x now over x minus 6 plus 3x over x minus 6. So the big change here is if I switch this value around, you gotta incorporate that negative. And I like to just bring it up into the numerator. All right, so now we've got common denominators, okay? So negative x plus 3x is 2x divided by x minus 6 would be the most simplified version. All right? Okay, good luck with your practice.